Minnesota's long-running fraud problems are back in the headlines. Right now, a House Judiciary Subcommittee is holding a hearing, and it's called When Public Funds Are Abused, Addressing Fraud and the Theft of Taxpayer Dollars. And independent journalist Nick Shirley is one of the key witnesses there. Nick Shirley's videos on YouTube have millions of views and ignited a national conversation around the alleged schemes. But the hearing is not the only problem facing Minnesota Governor Tim Walz. He's staring down some big ones. He faces a congressional investigation into that social services fraud. The House Energy and Commerce Committee will lead that probe. In a statement, the committee said, quote, "The extensive fraud schemes being perpetrated in Minnesota have wreaked havoc on government-funded health programs. We have an obligation to ensure finite taxpayer dollars are not being used irresponsibly and that the most vulnerable Americans are not being exploited to the benefit of fraudsters and foreign actors." Before today's hearing, Nick Shirley sat down with Fox.
Some locals inside Minnesota started telling me about the fraud. However, at that time, they were too afraid to speak out against the fraud because they're afraid of the backlash they might face inside of their own communities. And so over the past few months, I've been acquiring information, and the man in my video, the man by the name of David, he had all the information regarding all of the fraud.
In focus now, Republican Congressman Chip Roy of the great state of Texas, member of the House Judiciary Committee, and he's also running to be the next Attorney General for Texas. So you are digging in deeper on this with Governor Tim Walz. So far, what are we looking for to learn?
Harris, great to be on, and I want to applaud my good friend Andy Biggs, who's running for governor of Arizona, for holding this hearing and bringing Nick in front of the committee to help further expose the rampant fraud that was very clearly on display in Minnesota. And now I think, to answer your question, both looking at Governor Walz, but also looking at Keith Ellison, and what did they know and how much did they know, and did they basically engage in conspiracy to help carry out this fraud, right? There's very clear indications, recordings where you have Ellison sitting in the same room with Somalis and they're asking for help. Then he ends up getting political contributions. Tim Walz was neck deep in this, understood fully what was going on with respect to the fraud. And the question is, did he help them cover it up? I think we need to look at all of that because taxpayers deserve to know. This is just the tip of the iceberg. And you know, Harris, you and I talked last year during the debate over the big, beautiful bill, where some of us were fighting hard to try to get those Medicaid work requirements and other reforms in place to limit fraud so that we could guarantee that what Medicaid is going out are going out to American citizens and going out to people who are deserving of those benefits. And so the American people deserve to know how their taxpayer dollars are being used. But most importantly, you know, we need to look to see whether there was criminal activity and what did the leadership of Minnesota know.
I want to know how much of it, if any, went to ISIS, al-Shabaab, that was operating.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Because of the ties, obviously, to Somalia, and we know that those youngsters who were on trial for being radicalized years ago, that came into play too, I would imagine, because that was around the same period of time that some of this got going. Look, the Attorney General. Oh, go ahead.
Well, there's another component to this, which is the extraordinary network by the radical left, the Marxist left, that is funding all of this, both the Islamification of the United States as well as the advance of Marxism. That's all coming. Those crossroads are coming together here in full display in Minnesota. I want to applaud Secretary Bessent and President Trump. They've got a lot of operations going on to follow the money. One of the reasons I'm running for Attorney General is I want to follow the money. Where are all these dollars coming from? They're coming from foreign locations. They're coming from the United Nations. They're coming from taxpayer dollars. They're going to NGOs, and then they're using those to undermine our security, move people across our border with open borders, push the Islamic agenda, and to do what we're seeing unfold here with the Somalis. So I applaud this administration for seeking that truth to try to expose the corruption of where this money is flowing.
All right. I appreciate all of that. That's a lot of new information on the push on that. And I want to get to this. Former Special Counsel Jack Smith is set to testify publicly in front of your committee, the House Judiciary Committee, tomorrow. Congressman, your colleagues are expected to press Smith about 2 investigations he had into President Trump. And that includes his spying on Republican lawmakers' private phone data as part of the so-called Arctic Frost probe, which led to Jack Smith's election interference case. President Trump had this to say about it yesterday.
Ended Joe Biden's weaponization of our government and removed his hand-picked radical left Marxist prosecutors from the Department of Justice, like deranged Jack Smith. He's a sick son of a They gave me the worst of the worst. And here I am.
Senator Grassley released documents showing special counsel Jack Smith spied on these 10 Republican lawmakers and 9 senators. One House member, Senate Judiciary Chairman Chuck Grassley, has also released emails showing the FBI was reluctant to search Mar-a-Lago, feeling that they did not have probable cause. Jack Smith ultimately ordered the raid anyway. Your reaction to all of this and where you think this is going?
Yeah, Harris, look, this is going to be an important day tomorrow so we can try to further expose to the American people the absolute abuse of power by the Biden administration, and in particular, Jack Smith. I think we're going to learn that those aren't the only individuals in Congress who were targeted by the Department of Justice. Stay tuned tomorrow. But I also think that that's just the tip of the iceberg. The American people should be absolutely appalled that members of Congress in a separate branch were targeted. But you know what? You know what's more appalling? American citizens being targeted. Lawyers to the president, people out there advocating for election integrity who were targeted because Jack Smith very clearly wanted to put together a broad-based conspiracy that if Kamala Harris were president today, they would be going after members of Congress and citizens in a broad conspiracy to say that we were somehow engaged in seditious conspiracy because we were daring to question the legitimacy of the election when there was rampant fraud through mail-in ballots in 2020. We knew that. And some of us were trying to seek the truth wherever it may lead. And they want to turn that into a great conspiracy. And President Trump is 100% right to be angry at Jack Smith. Now, he was dragged through the mud, how he was targeted. And as Jim Jordan often says, if they can do it to the president, if they can do it to us, then imagine what they can do to the average American. This needs to be exposed in full. Even the Washington Post editorial board went after Jack Smith and said this guy was completely out of line with respect to clamping down on the president's ability to use free speech in an election. The Washington Post editorial board recognized how much out of his lanes he is. He was abusing his authority. He was using D.C. to do his dirty work and running all of his operations through here to get subpoenas and do the work through Boasberg and through Beryl Howell. And then he magically moves down to South Florida to go down there. Then he gets his entire operation slapped down by a federal judge last summer, but he continues, or in 2024, and then he continues to operate and sign materials as a special prosecutor, even though he was deemed inappropriate. So this guy's been abusing authority, and we need to expose it.
What kind of crime is that? If you sign federal papers and you're already pulled from that position?
Well, this is all of the stuff that we need to get into further tomorrow. We need to look into this and understand, and he needs to go on the record about how he was continuing to operate even though he didn't have the power to do it. And this was a rogue prosecutor engaged in political activity. I think that Chairman Jordan will make this very clear at the outset of the hearing tomorrow. And look, he's going to try to hide behind smoke and mirrors to say he was doing, good work, that he was trying to. But the fact is, this was a political exercise designed to target the president. And in doing so, he violated separation of powers, violated, frankly, his oath to the Constitution, and engaged in abuse of power at levels that we have barely ever seen in this country.
All right, so what's the punishment? Because you don't send anybody to prison from Congress. So what, just real quick, what comes next once you lay out this information?
Well, Congress needs to do this to expose it to the American people so they can know how that abuse of power affected their Republican form of government. And then this administration needs to continue to pursue the truth and to be able to use their prosecutorial powers where appropriate. That's up to Attorney General Pam Bondi to be able to pursue that. But our job is to expose it into Congress.
Gotcha. Because viewers always ask me that question. It's like, okay, but you guys talk about accountability. Shouldn't that be prison in some instances? And they're right. Often. It's great to see you today. I know you're going to get potentially another title, but for now, we appreciate you as Congressman Roy.
Hey, everyone. I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kaylee McEnany on Outnumbered every weekday at 12 p.m. Eastern, or set your DVR. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page for daily highlights.